Welcome to Off the Cuff with Namrata. Today's show is about breaking the silence around domestic violence. We will be talking about Maitri, an organization supporting domestic violence survivors. And I do have Rama Dharmarajan here with me. She has been with Maitri for over 17 years. She joined Maitri initially as a volunteer and then became a staff member and first ran Maitri's Transitional housing program for 5 years before taking on the role of the Executive Director in 2013. She also has a master's degree from Stanford's Graduate School of Business and worked as an organizational change and process improvement consultant in a consulting company there before changing her life track in 2007 to follow her heart for a social cause. And that's when she joined Maitri. Welcome, Rama, to Off the Cuff.
Thank you so much, Namrata, for having me here.
It's my honor and privilege to talk to you. And a little bit about Maitri, Rama. I think it's been 34 years since its inception.
34 in February.
Wow. So, how has it evolved since then? And who does Maitri serve?
So I wanted to just start with how it was founded.
Okay.
Because it's an interesting story, and I feel we don't often get an opportunity to talk about our founders that laid the foundation for this organization 34 years ago.
Yes.
And so how it came about was there was somebody in the South Asian community that was experiencing violence in their home, and two friends connected to talk about this, and they brought in three other women who they knew, and so this group of women helped this lady and decided that there was obviously a gap in the community for culturally sensitive services, and that's how Maitri was born, as a kitchen phone line in one of their homes. And these wonderful founders, I'd like to name them here if I may. Rama Mujumdar, Ramadi as we very affectionately call her, Anjali Dujari, Chitra Divakaruni, Joya Chatterjee, and Medha Joshi. And out of these founders, we were officially incorporated in 1991, and two of them, Rama Mujumdar and Anjali Dujari, continued to build the organization and for over 2 decades. And they've left such a legacy for all of us and such a responsibility for all of us to carry out they are a source of inspiration. We lost Anjali in 2013, but she's always going to be there in our hearts and in the organization in some way. She used to be this invisible, towering strength behind the organization's success. And Ramadi still continues. She's not active as much now, but she still continues to be the source of love and encouragement for all of us at the organization. And it's my utmost privilege to have known these women and to have heard these stories directly from them, as have many in our organization. So I just felt that it's very important to tie today back to those roots and where these women came from. And they were all professionals, they were very accomplished, and yet they put in their hard work and time. How we've evolved over time, we started, as I mentioned, as a kitchen phone line and with a bunch of volunteers, and over these 34 years have grown to offer many critical programs and services for survivors of domestic violence, primarily in the South Asian community. And now we are 18 staff strong organization, still have at any point of time 25 to 35 active volunteers that do this outside of their other jobs, and it's just a amazing team, because this really requires hard work and dedication. It's not a fun cause. It's something that changes lives.
You need a strong will and a strong heart to do this work.
Very much.
Yes, that is true. And like you said, you do primarily help families from South Asia, like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. So, in 34 years, the population here has grown, and unfortunately, your services are required even more so. So, how do you tailor your services towards their needs, and what are the challenges in providing such services to them?
So the programs and services we have that include the helpline, legal
Yes.
advocacy, economic empowerment, mental health support, transitional housing, help with permanent housing. Now these are pretty much what you would find traditionally in most organizations that offer services.
Right.
And for Maitri, it has always been how do we interweave these services to serve an individual holistically. So when someone calls us for help, it's not so much just these individual needs that they may have, it's also some things that may not be stated. So we may have people that don't speak English very well. We may have people that are struggling with even simple basic navigation of the public systems, and they may never have had a need in prior to fend for themselves. We have people that may not have worked before. Then we have children change the equation completely in terms of the challenges that someone would face. So the abuse per se may be the reason why they've called us, but all of these factors and their ability to work. Sometimes people don't have a work permit. So all of this creates a lot of challenges for the individual calling. And for us, what we try and do then is tailor based on what language what language support can we provide, what cultural nuances do we need to be specifically aware of, and where do we need to start with this individual in terms of where their education or their financial background, etc. So that is how we would approach a situation as a whole person and tailor whatever services we are providing. And this is why we always talk about wraparound and holistic services, while each of the programs do their utmost to take care of specific issues and specific challenges that the individual faces.
Yeah, and there is no simple solution to this. Like you're saying, if a person calls you, you can't just say, okay, here we provide a home for this person, and like you're saying, being culturally sensitive is very important, because a person can be from a different religion, or like you're saying, wouldn't know about their legal rights or whatever, or language is a huge problem, because language barrier, I think a person in this kind of a situation is only comfortable if the other person understands her or him or whoever they are. Absolutely. So that is, I think, very important, and a lot of other organizations like Manteca and a few others are doing what to bridge that gap. And but Rama, you've been here with Maitri for such a long time. How do you see the South Asian community responding to domestic violence? Because I come from India, I come from a small town, and it is a taboo topic. We never spoke about certain things. We never knew what microaggressions were. So a little bit about that.
So it's interesting you mentioned the length of time at Maitri, because really that has helped me see the change that has come about. One of the things that I remember right in the beginning was, in fact, to go back before my time at Maitri, what you alluded to, how we grew up, what society was. I feel a lot of things have not changed from that perspective. Even back home, I do see that domestic violence is still often mostly perceived as a personal issue, something that you hush up, something that you don't talk about in public, or don't talk about relating to someone else. Having said that, in the beginning, Maitri also at outreach events would face challenges from the community. People felt we were trying to break up families. People would not openly support, even if they were providing grants or financial assistance to somebody in need or to organizations such as ours. And from there, I want to mention, I think you came to our gala recently, and that's just an example or a testimony of where the community support has sort of veered, huge leaps and bounds from where they were. It's about the attitudes that have changed. It's about people being more willing to recognize that this is a serious community issue. It's also about people feeling more responsible for what they create as a community, as a society, and being willing to do something about it, or at least to support organizations that serve this particular cause. So I feel very heartened. And we've also been helped by the use of social media, whatever other challenges social media brings. Right. There has also been a huge opportunity for us to reach a lot of people through education, through posts, through even just engagement on platforms where otherwise there might not have been an opportunity to do that. So I think that has certainly helped bring people together, throw light on this issue, and also related intersectional issues. And I feel this is a really positive shift, though there's a lot more work still remaining to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I think of it, see, we are one of the most affluent people, especially we call the model minority. But domestic violence has still touched so many. You're educated, and that's the surprising part, because you would feel that this doesn't happen to a certain strata of people. It is surprising to see that it's still prevalent. So what are the prevention programs that Maitri has come forth with, and how are you raising awareness in people? Maybe they can stop before it gets out of hand.
So one of the things that you mentioned before I get to the question, that's of course a huge myth or a stereotyping that a lot of us, before we actually began working in this space, may have also not been aware of, which is that backgrounds of either the survivors or either the abused or the abuser in some way changes their status of being abused or being an abuser. And that's one thing that is that's something we learn right off the bat, that backgrounds, whether it's education, finance, your social strata, your religion, your the place that you come from, it does not give you a break from perhaps becoming a victim or even being an abuser. So this is something that transcend is usually something that one would use in a positive sense, so that's not the word I'm looking for, but it cuts across all these segments and strata. So that I just wanted to address. In terms of prevention, for us, there are a couple of aspects that we could think of as prevention. One is how do you prevent someone that's already been impacted by abuse not be re-victimized again? So a lot of our internal programs that work with survivors aim to do that, towards their empowerment, both emotionally and economically, so that they become self-sufficient and understand their rights and be able to lead their lives and hopefully not have to go through this again. The other piece is larger. It's for the community. And this again goes back to what we were just talking about a little while ago, about this being a personal issue versus a community issue. Domestic violence does have enablers, and the community plays a role in it because of societal norms, because of how they perceive gender equity, how they look at gender roles in their community, in their society, what they might normalize, what they've witnessed in their homes over the generations, and not paid attention to as something that is wrong or not called out. So for us, prevention, a lot of our activities are focused on education, engaging with the community, and trying to get to this root of how do you change that mindset, and how do you build that education around these issues. Also, very important to call out is going upstream in this journey. How do you influence youth?
Yes.
Because these things start early. It's
Very
learned
true.
behavior. So you have to be very conscious about what example are you setting for the youth at home, or you might be a teacher, or you might have other opportunities to work with youth. So for us, we've learned a lot working with youth. They're very aware these days, and they have a lot of challenges that sometimes is not paid attention to, and these actually might influence their behaviors growing up. And so we do a lot of youth education and engagement around what healthy relationships are, how to recognize signs that might take them away from fostering healthy relationships. So that's all part of our prevention program.
Wonderful, wonderful. And talking about youth and learning about domestic violence myself, reading on it here and there, the spectrum of abuse has also changed. Earlier on, it was very limited to, okay, maybe physical abuse or, mental abuse. Now there's a whole lot of things that come into that spectrum, be it, sexual abuse, religious abuse. Now it's become digital abuse. So, are you changing the way you deal with it? And especially, you talked about the youth. So, they are engaging in all sorts of a different kind of platform for a relationship than a traditional one. So how do you empower young boys? Especially like you're saying, okay, they need to have good role models, but how can the boys get help?
And good question, and we pay a lot of attention to this in our youth programs. And aside from just youth, we also have an Engaging Men and Boys campaign, which you're aware of. We've been doing that for several years. And the purpose of that is really to have role models speak up, and folks that are hearing them or seeing their campaigns and campaign posts on social media be influenced, because sometimes you have to get role models to speak for others to be influenced, especially at a young age. The other piece is, when we do our youth engagement, some of these very topics about what is masculinity, what boys don't cry, there are all of these things that come up in society and community that we have perhaps been unknowingly perpetuating. And we try to go to the root of those, and we encourage a lot of boys in the youth engagement programs to speak up also about their challenges. How we may not associate bullying that's so common with something that might happen in the future, which we will then term as domestic violence, right? So we bring all these topics to the fore, and try to make sure that even parents are aware, so that intergenerational divide of which plays a role. You may love your children, but you may not be paying attention to some of these things, and that is a bridge that we're hoping to be, and to engage the community to do a better job at fostering youth into model behavior that can create a safer future.
We can only try, and so right about the intergenerational trauma that keeps going, and that's where it needs to stop. And parents as well as youth or children need to be aware of what's happening, or what's wrong, or what's right, or what is a red flag, or and talk about it, because as parents we don't have the language for it sometimes. So that's where you can utilize the help of Maitri, and Maitri's free helpline is 1-888-862-4874. Website is maitri.org. You can look into the work they're doing, and this is a helpline needed for anybody listening and needs help in any sort of way. They have wonderful counselors. As she said, they speak a lot of languages, regional
15.
languages. 15?
Mhm.
That's wonderful. So, there will be somebody listening to you. And coming back to the fundraiser now for this, you had a very successful gala recently. Would you like to talk about it a little?
Absolutely. I think we're still in the afterglow.
Yeah.
And, fundraising obviously is important because we need the dollars to continue the important work that we're doing.
Mm.
But for me, I think what was really heartwarming was to see the community come together, not just appreciate our work, but there was joy
Yeah.
to be part of something that's so important. And just given all the challenges that people may be facing, it's not just enough to have the resources to give. You have to have the mind and heart for it, and I think that's what was so moving for me. And of course, the hard work that goes into it sometimes is not. It's not visible. We try and put out a really nice evening for people so that they can come and let their hair down, and at the same time be aware of how important a cause it. I know you were there. Hope you enjoyed the evening.
Absolutely.
But I feel utmost gratitude both to the wonderful team that I have the pleasure of working with, as well as the community that has just been so supportive.
Yeah, and Maitri always, puts up a very, very elegant evening and a very meaningful one. So join the team, volunteer, look into how you can help Maitri by going to maitri.org. Any last message, you want to give to the South Asian community, Rama?
I do want to plug in that we
Sure.
have one more fun
Absolutely,
event,
yeah.
fun event coming up on May 9th.
Okay.
It's a concert by the band Indian Ocean. It's a very popular
Yes.
popular band from the 90s, and our purpose is to not, to of course not just provide an evening of enjoyment.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who couldn't make it to the gala, so we're hoping that they can come, and we are wanting to make this a community awareness building evening, while people can also enjoy some fun music. So that's on May 9th in Foothill College, Los Altos, and the tickets are available on our website. In terms of the message to the community, I think you've already mentioned a few things, Namrita, thank you, about volunteering, donating. I would add, if there are professional services that you're able to offer pro bono, that would be a good way to engage with the organization. And I would say this of the community in general: if you are listening to this or watching this from somewhere far away, find an organization near you, because all of us need your support, and raise your voice against anything that's wrong, and just help us make this a very safe and inclusive society. We all need each other. We all do different roles to take care of this issue, but we're all part of that same community and society, and we need your love and support. So that's my message.
Thank you, Rama, and I definitely second that. What Maitri is providing is hope and a second start or a restart to so many women, I'll say, and men too. As a community, let's not judge. Let's give them, a shoulder or a open mind to listen to them. That's all you can do for a friend or anybody who's going through this kind of abuse. मैं तो यही कहूँगी कि नाउम्मीद के लिए थोड़ी सी उम्मीद ही काफ़ी है. And let's keep changing mindsets and breaking the silence around domestic violence. I had written a few lines, कि ये घर का सन्नाटा भी कितना नाजुक है, ये घर का सन्नाटा भी कितना नाजुक है, हल्के से थप्पड़ से टूट जाता है, मैं बिखरी पड़ी हूँ, टूटी पड़ी हूँ, हिम्मत जुटाकर अब भी खड़ी हूँ. To all the domestic violence survivors, we send them strength and love. Thank you, Rama. Take care and be well.
क्या बात है. Thank you, Namrata.
Bye bye.